I think Michigan State may have messed up just like Mel Tucker. There seems to be a little delay or a cover-up while this story develops. Well, the latest Locked On Big Ten starts right now.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Shemon. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we're brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Michigan State may have messed up here, and Mel Tucker releases a statement. Plus, later on, Matt Sheehan from Locked On Spartans will join us for all the latest on this story. Plus, we'll have some fun at the end with our Tuesday tweets. Be sure to subscribe and follow Locked On Big Ten for free wherever you get your podcast. That way, you'll get the latest episode of this podcast as soon as it becomes available each and every day. All right, we'll get to the Mel Tucker released statement in just a minute. That was new from Monday. But as you know, Michigan State has suspended football coach Mel Tucker without pay. The USA Today investigation, of course, stated that Tucker has been accused of sexual harassment as part of a Title IX investigation that has been going on. And a hearing after this investigation concluded in July, a hearing is scheduled for October. Those are the details you know coming out of the weekend. You also may know that Harlan Barnett, the secondary coach, will be the interim head coach, and former head coach Mark D'Antonio will have an advisory head coach role as well. Tucker, who is in his fourth year at Michigan State, and he signed that 10-year, $95 million extension back in 2021. If he is fired for cause, the university would not owe him the remaining $80 million remaining on that deal. He is accused of unwelcomed phone sex, and it was not consensual, according to the lady involved. He says it was. There was a conversation to a rape victim and a sexual assault victims advocate, Brenda Tracy. This is who the school has hired several times to come talk to the football team about sexual violence. So you couldn't have picked a worse person to be accused of doing this with. Tracy was even the honorary captain of the Spartan spring practice game in April of 2022. The alleged inappropriate phone call between Tucker and Tracy then took place 12 days after the spring game in 2022. The investigation that has since been going on concluded in July. The Title IX hearing, as I said earlier, is in October. Specifically, it's October 5th and 6th. That happens to be the bye week for the Spartans football team. So I have some questions because stuff still doesn't add up with me. Mel Tucker did not deny any of these accusations when questioned by the investigative attorney. The only difference is he said that these phone sex calls were consensual between him and Brenda Tracy. Whether it was consensual or not, there's a clause all about moral turpitude in his contract. A coach representing the university has to go above and beyond with his or her public or private behaviors. So that makes this a bit of a sticky situation. I pointed out that the university has known about this story for some time, or at least, well, we know they have known about it. Now, there are some questions here about a Title IX investigation and the confidentiality that is supposed to be involved through all of this. But somebody knew, somebody leaked this to USA Today. That's what really I have a big question mark about now. And why suspend him now if allegedly maybe somebody knew about it before? Or were they just going to wait and ride this thing out until the hearing in October and hope for the best, or fire your coach in the middle of the season? None of that makes sense to me right now. And I have an inquisitive mind, so I'm sure you do too. So I don't know. The timeline just doesn't fit with me. This is a university that has dealt with Larry Nassar, the massive sexual predator who is behind bars for the rest of his life. There was a story in 2017 about Tom Izzo and his staff reaching out to a witness in an investigation of alleged sexual misconduct activity of a basketball player. before the witness was actually talked to by police or investigators. So that story was out there. And just last year, look, the poor campus at East Lansing, they went through a school shooting, which doesn't have anything to do with this, but this is a campus that has been in the public eye with some pretty heavy life issues as of late. And yet the school seems like, to me anyway, that it was willing to buy some time on this Mel Tucker issue, at least until the scheduled hearing, while the investigation concluded. But then the USA Today story kind of changed all that and put everything on the front burner right away. That's the part that a lot of people seem to be upset about, and that doesn't make sense with me as well. The fact that the hearing was scheduled during the football team's bye week also tells me the university wasn't so much in a hurry to interrupt the football season, as long as none of this was taking place in the public eye, right? The USA Today report, and by the way, they hired the investigators. So for the Title IX investigation, the school did. So how much they knew and what they knew something. They knew something was going on. They had to. How much? Don't know at this point. But again, that USA Today report kind of changed everything. And this all comes on the heels of a weekend in which Michigan State went 2-0. They got the 45-14 win over Richmond on Saturday. And they host the Washington Huskies this upcoming weekend. Now, I would presume due to legal reasons, if Tucker is fired, it probably will not be before the October hearing. They want to have all the due process and orderly and everything like that. So I don't think anything's going to happen right away. Plus, the university's dealing with the remaining portion of this contract, right? $75-80 million with it. This is now a serious situation. Now, Tucker and his lawyers claim innocence, and they're also going to be watching what the university does here moving forward. You know, they would love it if the university made a mistake or rushed to something. They're trying to get all that money. I mean, $80 million is $80 million, right? Well, I will also tell you that Mel Tucker released a statement. He didn't want to remain silent anymore. He released a statement through the Detroit Free Press, or through his attorney. I read it in the Detroit Free Press on Monday. And he, again, calls these accusations completely false. And he did acknowledge that there was some sort of relationship here with this lady. It was intimate. It was adult. It was a relationship. That's how he characterized it. He says that Michigan State's investigation is unfair and biased. He says the inquiry is used to get out of the remainder of the 10-year, $95 million contract that he signed in 2021. Interesting he mentioned that. And he also threw out there that Miss Tracy's attorney told him and his attorneys from the very beginning that Mel Tucker, should not lose his job over this, but it would take a lot of money to make it all go away. What do you think about that? So a lot of he said, she said here. Very complicated issue. It is going to go on for a while. So coming up in a minute, we are going to talk with Matt Sheehan from Locked On Spartans. He covers this very closely and has been over the past couple days. So we'll get his insight. All that coming up next on Locked On Big Ten. And we are brought to you by Game Time. And with Game Time, this is a great app to use to buy tickets to any game. Maybe you're going to that Michigan State Washington game. Who knows? You want some tickets at the last second? Get the Game Time app. They have exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater. They literally have absolutely everything you can think of. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, a couple of taps on the phone, and you're all set. The tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email or anything like that. And with the app, you can create an account and use Locked On College, the code Locked On College, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply there. Again, create an account, and your redeem code is Locked On College for $20 off. So it is a fantastic deal. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, now on Locked On Big Ten, I am joined by Locked On Spartans, Matt Sheehan, and we got a lot to talk about, obviously. Nothing but Mel Tucker these days. Matt, how are you?
Good. I thought we were going to talk about MSU's win against Richmond. That's not what we're talking about here today. Wow. I feel blindsided here, Craig. Man.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm sitting around Sunday afternoon just kind of regathering my thoughts on what happened over the Big Ten, and that was one of the games I was thinking about. And watching NFL football, and all of a sudden all these stories come just dropping out about 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon Sunday. What were you doing when you found out about Mel Tucker?
Oh boy! Well, when I got it, it was like 1 in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. I was getting ready to go to bed, Craig. I was getting ready for a nice, peaceful night of sleep, and then I got a 5-minute heads up from someone that, hey, pretty damning stories coming down the pike here by ESPN, and I'm thinking, how bad can it be? And by the way, hey, you dump a story at 1 a.m. on week 1 of NFL, no one's gonna know about this. Come on, and then oh my God, you read the story, and okay, this is serious. This is pretty bad. So. And then I was up until like 2:30 in the morning, just wondering what's going to happen now. So, yeah.
Well, when you go back on the timeline of this story, it's obvious that Michigan State has known about it for a little while, and they seem to be content to let it roll or at least get to the bye week before the hearing. What do you think? Did they actually? And this is a school that has dealt with Larry Nassar. So I'm just wondering, were they covering this up?
So I don't think so. And they didn't make a good enough job at making that clear in the press conference with Alan Hall, the athletic director. He said some things, but he didn't say the number one thing that he should have said. This was actually brought up by Dan Murphy hours after the press conference. And Dan Murphy is the one who initially dropped the story before USA Today. But he said that per Title IX just protocol, the employer can't know the details of the complaint. And that was the first time that we heard about it was the same time that many people within MSU heard about it as well, because that is protocol. According to the experts. So it was very bizarre to say this has been going on since March or December, and there's been no suspension. Like, you guys knew about this. Turns out they didn't entirely know about that. And just leave it to Michigan State PR to not even bring that up during the press conference. If there's one thing that can make you look somewhat good in all this, it is that you were truly ignorant, and they couldn't even do that. So glad Dan Murphy had that tweet. That cleared up a lot, because without that, it certainly does look like A, they were just going to let this go to October and praying to God that no one knew, or B, that there would be a cover up. But no, behind door number 3, it's just the way the Title IX investigations go. So that was a nice little tidbit there from Dan, I guess.
And even after it was concluded in July, between July and now, you still don't think that they knew there was still confidentiality, even through, there's supposed to be confidential all the way through the hearing in October?
Yeah, that's the interesting part, because maybe they just saw Mel's side of the story, and he puts up a side of the story that says, no, this was consensual, yada, yada, yada. And so maybe they thought that there was a lack of evidence from her point of view, or enough strong evidence on Mel Tucker's point of view, where it's, okay, we're going to get through this all together. And then you really get all the details included in the story. And, you realize that this isn't going to be one of those things where you can just take it to the 1-yard line and no one's going to find out. It just kind of blew up.
Yeah. Well, okay. So even if this was consensual, that whole moral turpitude is the word I'm learning now. And, he can't do that as a figurehead at Michigan State. They can probably get him on that if they want to, right?
That's the biggest thing I've been preaching on Locked On Spartans here, is that, okay, let's say it is his side of the story. It is all above board. It is just two adults having a relationship. Look, I know that maybe the normal person can have a relationship like this. You are not a normal person, Mel. You are a $95 million CEO of Young Men football program representing a university. There are 8 billion people in this world. If you want to carry on a relationship like this, choose anyone else but the sexual assault awareness spokesperson that you've had to your campus numerous times and then having this relationship with. Like, that's the crazy thing to me. How do you go forward with this? Let's say, like we said, it is all consensual. How do you go forward coaching these young men? How do you go forward with this program? Because, cat's out of the bag. You had this going on the side. We're just going to go hold hands and skip merrily through the future, acting like everything's okay. There is no plausible way that this can just go on and everything be fine. And God, just never mind walking into a recruit's house with all this on your Wikipedia page. You can't go forward with this. It's fair or not. Look, adults can have relationships, but not ones that make $95 million to represent a university. Like, no, even if it is his side of the story, it's not good enough. Not good enough. I'm sorry.
Mel did release a statement through his attorney on Monday. I saw it in the Detroit Free Press. He is claiming that this whole thing is twisted. He again said the story's not right, that it was consensual. He also suggested that this investigation has not been fair, and he suggested that she said, well, listen, I don't want you to lose your job over this, but this is going to cost a lot of money to make it go away.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be so messy. I don't know if anyone out there knows Mel Tucker, quite a big contract here, and there's about $70-ish million left on the table. He's going to want at least a good chunk of that, and Michigan State is going to want to save a good chunk of that as well. But yeah, his statement is very interesting because, I mean, how many times you see this all the time when something like this pops up, that the two sides could not be telling more opposite stories. So it is truly a he said, she said sort of thing. Look, there's probably truth in the middle of all of it, but man, this isn't just a week-long story. This is going to get messy. It's going to drag out because, like I said, Michigan State, we just cannot move forward with this. They're going to find something to fire him with cause in October, but will it be enough, or will they have to say, hey, here's a settlement of $40 million to all move on with our lives? Like, I don't know. This is going to drag and drag and drag, and just it's great to be a Michigan State fan again. This is great. It's awesome.
Yeah, he even suggested that they just want to get out of this contract, and I'm just if USA Today had not broken this, again, the investigation was over July. Were they just going to wait for the hearing and fire him in October if it didn't go his way, or were they hoping for the best case scenario coming out of the hearing in October, that everything's fine? I just don't. I'm trying to get in the head of Michigan State administrators, and I can't quite find the right sweet spot.
And that's valid. I mean, I don't know if I have much of an argument to put up against it, because I think maybe the end goal for the people that knew, and who knows who knew what. I mean, the protocol says that no one should know, but maybe someone did, is that, yeah, it was all going to be brought out that it was bogus and that Mel Tucker did have a compelling enough story and she had lack of evidence and all that stuff. And they were just going to move forward with it and then just pray that it was all going to be okay. But Craig, it's not all okay at all, actually, because you picked Brenda Tracy to do this with. I mean, that's a lot of other people in the world, Mel.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let me ask you this. So the weird situation, this story just keeps getting more and more strange. Mark D'Antonio is going to come out of retirement and be the associate head coach. What do you think about that?
Unique. And I'm actually hearing that, like, the players are pretty fired up about that. And also, well, the donors, because they're going to be pretty important too in this next few months as we are just going to try to hire another head coach here. But Mark D'Antonio, he has a good fan base within very influential people at Michigan State. And it'll be nice to see him on the sideline. I don't know if it's going to be, headset, I'm calling plays, I'm teaching these guys how to play the game, or if it's just going to be your classic, Barry Alvarez at the Rose Bowl moment where he's just kind of there as a token. But that'll be interesting to see how this unfolds for Mark moving forward here. Is it going to be a week thing? Is it the rest of the season? But hey, I mean, if the players are happy to have him, sure. Who am I to say no? I mean, I'm excited to see the old ball coach out there. I just hope it goes a little bit better than it did the last 2 years of his tenure here at Michigan State. That's all.
Matt Sheehan is with us from Locked On Spartans. Okay, you've been doing this for a few years. Let's actually talk coaching. What was your opinion of Mel Tucker? He had that dynamite year that he turned into the $95 million. It was a subpar year last year. Good start this year. What do you think of him as a coach?
You know what? I wasn't entirely sure about that until this all started to happen. And one of my first thoughts, sickly enough, I'm not proud of this, but man, get out of the contract now. I mean, that's okay. We could move on to the next chapter here. We're not going to have this $70 million albatross around our neck potentially. So, when I had that thought, that made it pretty clear. Oh, I guess I have not been sold on this the entire time here. 2021, great time. Peach Bowl, K9, the full 9 yards. But man, he has brought some good, talented players here, but recruiting isn't just exactly what we thought it would be here in East Lansing. And that was his calling card. Like, that is why he came to Michigan State. That was the flash that he brought here, is that he can recruit like no one's business. And it turned into really no one's business, not even his business. I mean, again, he has gotten some good players up here, but It's been a far cry from what we all thought it could be, especially after that 11-win season 2021. I mean, I'm ready for the next thing, Craig. I'm ready to go.
He spoke on media days in Indianapolis about the investment this team made in the front seven defensively because they got gashed last year. They had injuries. By the way, after 2 weeks, I think Michigan State is tied for third in the country in sacks. So that part seems to be improved, right?
That's the thing. It's like it's been an okay start to the year, and there's not a lot of expectations this year. The over-under was 5.5. And yeah, sure, it was against Central and Richmond, who is not even a good FCS team, unfortunately. Like Craig, me and you can team up for 7 sacks against Richmond. No disrespect to the Spiders, but the secondary actually looked okay, and that is where the young talent that Mel Tucker brought in is in the secondary. They also do have some good guys in the front seven, just like you mentioned. So it is a good start to the season. Big test against Washington this Saturday, and that's what makes this timing so fun here. Like, hey, as if facing, in my opinion, the number 1 offense in the nation isn't hard enough, let's just rip an F5 tornado through the football building just right before and just see how that goes. But we're going to see how headstrong these kids are. I feel terrible for them. This is a BS situation they've been put in. They didn't do anything to deserve this. And yeah, now it's just all eyes on them to see just really how strong they can bond together the rest of the season. It's a horrible situation for them. So
yeah. One more question for you. Mel Tucker said right before the first game, he says regarding the starting quarterback, Noah Kim and Caton Hauser, he says, well, you're going to find out who my starting quarterback is when you see whoever takes the field. Turned out to be Noah Kim. I think he looks the part, but what's your opinion of Noah Kim as the starting quarterback?
Not too shabby. It's a slow starts to games like in Central and Richmond, and then against Richmond, he bounced back with 15 straight completions, 81% completion total. So it's been solid. I am pretty surprised how it ended, though, because Noah Kim is a 3-star holdover from the D'Antonio era. Caton Hauser, he was this flashy 4-star guy, Elite 11 participant. And it turns out that, like I thought, that they were going to be like, all right, hey, Kim, you get 2 series. Hauser, you get 2 series. Or you get a half. Like, no, Kim the whole way. And he has looked the part. He's got live legs. He makes some pretty solid throws with this young receiving core. So far, so good. But, again, I don't want to get ahead of my skis here. I would love to see it against teams that aren't the Central Michigan Chippewas or the Richmond Spiders. But yeah, so far so good. All right.
I hear you. Well, since I've been doing this podcast since June, doing all solo so far, you are officially my first guest, Matt. I hope to have you on again. Thank you very much.
Would love to come on again. Thanks a lot, Craig. Appreciate you.
All right, that's Matt Sheehan for Locked On Spartans. And by the way, you can follow and subscribe him, just as like I ask you to do with me every single day. Coming up, we've got Tuesday tweets right here on Locked On Big Ten. And, of course, we are brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 or $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. You know, the first week of the season is in the books as well. I mean, we're rolling with the NFL, so a special deal for you. All customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. How about that? Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props. I love the prop bets. Anybody can pick games. I love the prop bets. It keeps the games even way more interesting than they already are. You can do that and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer that you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, now it is time for a feature that we do every Tuesday called Tuesday Tweets. We always go on social media. And by the way, you can follow us on Twitter at TalkBig10. Also appreciate your comments right here down below on YouTube, those of you watching the video. So I'm going to pop this up on screen as we do each and every Tuesday. Grabbed a few of these. This one is from @G_Eno Bambino, and this is a picture of a Michigan State crowd, Michigan State football, and it just says beat Washington with the green hearts. Like we were just talking with Matt Sheehan, this is a tough task. A big, good team is coming in, and there's a lot of turmoil with this Michigan State football team right now. So they need help and support. against Michael Penix Jr. and the Washington Huskies. All right, elsewhere. Here is one from @HeavensFX. This is Brian Ferentz looking very giddy when the defense scores. As you all know, Brian Ferentz in Iowa, they need to score 25 points a game. Doesn't matter how they get there. His job is on the line. And, you know, when a defense scores, that helps you out all the more. And Sebastian Castro with a pick 6 interception against Iowa State this weekend. I'm sure that Brian Ferentz was very happy. He'll take it. He'll take it, right? So the Hawkeye fans, by the way, the 2-0, very good start. Here's another one from Bambino. This is Sparty and Spartan Nation, 10 toes down with this team. Go green. Everybody supporting the Spartans with the tough week. I just noticed I'm even wearing green today here on Locked On Big Ten. All right, and here is from @Wolverine Chronicle. J.J. McCarthy is the highest graded quarterback in the entire country through 2 weeks with a 94.4 score. KJ Jefferson next, and then Michael Penix Jr. from Washington will be coming to Michigan State at 91.2. Shedeur Sanders, do yourself a favor and watch the kid play with the Colorado Buffaloes. He is something else. And Jackson Dart coming in at 5. That is Wolverine Chronicle with the tweet. At Barstool, University of Iowa. Congratulations to Coach Ferentz on the 200th win. Yeah, not only did he beat one of his arch rivals over the weekend and get the dub, that was his 200th win. Congratulations, Kirk Ferentz, on that. That was very, very impressive. And here is at Barstool MSU, Mark D'Antonio, a true Spartan. Here's a picture of him looking in a suit and tie, saying goodbye after retirement. And his words to athletic director Alan Haller, quote, "Whatever you need, I'm here to help," unquote. Well, guess what? He's going to be an associate head coach coming out of retirement to help out after this Mel Tucker scenario. So you're going to see him back on the sidelines in Michigan State. And meanwhile, here is at Huskers Talk. Interesting note, team sacks. Nebraska leads the country in sacks. They haven't won any games yet, but they lead the country in sacks with 11 over 2 games, tied with Tennessee. Michigan State right there, tied for 3rd with 10 sacks, 5 per game, making this list. So pretty impressive list there. Big Ten up at the top at the sack exchange around college football. Pretty neat. Okay, and that's a look at Tuesday tweets for this week. And coming up tomorrow, we'll get you caught up. Spent a lot of days talking about Mel Tucker. Got a few notes I want to share with you, some thoughts from the last weekend as we segue into looking ahead to week 3. We will be doing that, and I hope you join us for that. I want to thank you for making this podcast, Locked On Big Ten, your first listen each and every day. And I love having you on and having you join us. Also want to thank Matt Sheehan from Locked On Spartans for joining us today. That was a lot of fun. Many ways to contact and interact with me throughout. Of course, Twitter is always an option at Talk Big Ten, and comments here on YouTube. I go through them almost every day, and some make me laugh. Some are pretty interesting, and some are head scratchers. But that's what it's all about. So we'll do that. Feel free to subscribe. Get those subscription numbers up. Please, you're helping me out. And you can follow this podcast right now on your favorite podcast app and get the latest episode of Locked On Big Ten as soon as it becomes available each and every day. Also want to invite you to join Locked On Sports Today, that podcast for the latest everything going on in sports. And also check out my friend Matt Sheehan for Locked On Spartans. He'll have all the absolute latest details of this Mel Tucker story for sure. So enjoy that as you will. And I can't wait till we talk again. I can't believe how fast this time has gone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Craig Shemon for Locked On Big Ten.